Good morning. My name is Scott Hines. I'm just going to go ahead and jump in. There are a variety of things that people will tell us who they think we are. Probably the most widely used one in the modern times is busy. The important thing to remember, however, is that the world will call us names based on what it wants or what it sees in us, whereas God will tell us who we are based on who he knows who we are. So I'm going to have to tell you to please bear with me. I'm really bad about procrastinating and wrote this entire sermon yesterday. So when you wait till last minute, it only takes a minute, and with that, I'm just going to go ahead and say this could be either a really interesting 6 minutes or I'll put you to sleep. One of the two. I'm going to begin by telling you who we are, seeing as how that is what you came to hear us tell you. We're Christians. This may seem like a no-duh kind of statement, but when you think about it, there's more to being a Christian than being a Christian. And when you think about it, we're here, and God put us here for a reason. So there are two main objectives when it comes to being Christian. The first and foremost would have to be worship. It's what we were made for, after all. Unfortunately, the world keeps telling us you're too busy. For 5, even 6 days sometimes, out of 7 every week, we work for 8 hours a day and do nothing but. And it gets to the point where we often forget there even is a God. What we fail to remember is that you can worship God through all of this. It's easier than you think. All you have to do is find something you really enjoy in life and say, "Thank you, God." So for my first example, I'm actually going to bring up someone I met last week. He's a friend of my brother's. His name is Caden. Caden prays more than anyone I know, even you. He prays before waking up. Actually, that's hard to do. He prays when he wakes up, when he goes to bed, before meals, after meals, before reading his Bible, after reading his Bible, before studying, after studying, and so on. And these are just the examples I've seen. So Caden, to me, is a really good example of someone who has dedicated their lives to God first and foremost. The next thing that defines who we are as Christians is that we need to, as Christians, share the love of God as Christ did. And yes, this includes with absolute strangers that you probably will never see again. You don't even need to say the name God or Jesus when you do so. As St. Francis of Assisi said, preach the gospel. If necessary, use words. So this is done, of course, through actions mostly. It could be a genuine, "How are you doing?" a genuine, "Have a nice day," a genuine wave, hug, smile, so on and so forth. Another important factor of sharing God's love with the world is to show God's love to people that others don't want to love. So, for example, in the time of Jesus, if you were, say, a Jew, and you associated with, a Roman, a Samaritan, a Gentile, you risked being expelled from the synagogue. And because of this, the community was conditioned to not only neglect these people, but to ostracize them, hate them even. Jesus, on the other hand, showed compassion to everyone he came across. And for those who were open to receiving it, it was life-changing. Granted, this can be difficult at times, because as human beings, we can get frustrated, overwhelmed, tired, say what you will. We tell ourselves, it doesn't really matter, or I'm never going to see this person who just served my Big Mac at McDonald's ever again. So it really isn't that big of a deal, is it? And as Christians, unfortunately, we sometimes have a tendency to live our lives half-heartedly. Keep in mind that Jesus shared the love of God, again, with everyone he met, even if they weren't receptive to it. And as I said before, to those who were receptive to it, it was life-changing. So take, for example, Mary Magdalene. The scripture tells us she was possessed by 7 demons, and this could be a literal 7 demons, but it could also be mental illness. And people at the time did not understand that. So they were just scared to approach her. They couldn't love her because they feared her. But Jesus, being Jesus, healed her through his love. And because of that, she followed him everywhere he went for the rest of her life. Also take, for example, the adulteress. Being caught in the act and brought to Jesus by the Pharisees as a test, they asked who should throw the first stone, him replying, the one who has not sinned. And so they went away one by one, and Jesus asked, has no one judged you? And she says, no one. Jesus responded, neither do I. Go and sin no more. And I guarantee you that adulteress went forth and her life was completely changed. Even when speaking to Romans, Samaritans, Gentiles, whoever, Jesus spoke kindly to these people, knowing that God loved them too, even the Pharisees. And so with that, I'm going to conclude by telling you who we are, seeing as how that is what you came to hear us tell you. We are Christians. And it probably seems like less of a no-duh moment now that I've explained it, because when you think about it, there's more to being Christian than being called a Christian. And when you think about it, God put us here for a reason. Thank you.
I'm too loud. I'm too intense. I do way too much at sporting events and may or may not get involved in quite a bit of heckling with the other teams all the time. And I talk too much. I can never be serious. But you know what? People say what they want, but it really doesn't matter because I am, and you are, and everyone is more than the labels that are put on them. If you don't know me, my name is Wes Eckert, and I am a senior at Mustang High School. Now, with the theme of today being Claim Your Vocation, I thought a lot about what mine was. I wrote a lot, I deleted a lot, because honestly, I had no clue. I've lived much of my time in middle school and high school thinking that people only saw me the way that people who don't like me saw me, if that makes any sense. I would be told that I was too loud or that I talked too much, so I believed it. And I lived down to it. I'd be talking and I would be thinking to myself that I was talking too much or that I was talking too loud because of the things that people had said to me, among other things. So with believing that and living down to that, it aided me. But this week, with writing this and praying about this, I asked some of my closest friends, and I found that they see me as a kind-hearted, caring, loving, sweet person who's also a leader. And that's how God sees us. He sees us for who we really are. He's like the best friend we could ever have because he will be brutally honest and let us know when there's things we need to change. But he also looks through our flaws and he sees us for who we really are and loves us for who we really are. And there's no need for those people that are put there that don't bring out the best in you. And in saying that, people do talk a lot. And one of my biggest flaws is that I have a big problem with trying to please everyone. People would have these opinions about me, and I would just go out of my way to be who they wanted me to be as a person. I would do whatever they wanted without even thinking about what it meant for me or anyone else around me. They would expect things of me, and I just lived down to their expectations. And to put it bluntly, I was kind of a jerk for a few years because I got away from me, and I got away from God. My need to be accepted just about ruined me, and I was 12 different people depending on who I was around. That's not okay. In fact, it's exhausting. It ruined me spiritually, and it can ruin you as well. The only person that you need to please is God. And when I got back to only trying to please him, it's like a giant weight was lifted off of my shoulders. And as they said in Isaiah 9:4, "For you shall break the yoke of their burden and the staff on their shoulders, the rod of their oppressor, as at the battle of Midian." When I just focused on myself, living as the best person that I could be, and helping others as much as I can, it's probably the best decision I've made. And it could be a decision like that for you as well. I wasn't trying to fit into the mold that other people had set for me. I wasn't trying to impress anybody. I wasn't trying to fit in with any group of people. I just did what I needed to do to make myself the best that I can be. And I feel like that's something everybody should do. And I'm not trying to say that I'm there. I'm not perfect. I've got a long way to go. I'm very, very far from the best person that I can be and what I'm working towards. But like I said, I'm working on it. I'm making progress. And I don't care who I please or upset on the way there, because there's no way to please everybody. I'm only trying to please one person, and that is God. Now, going along with that, your vocation isn't always what you do as a career. You could be a dentist or an athlete or whatever it is. But that's okay, but necessarily your vocation with God is not always that. Personally, I'm going to be a sports broadcaster. That's my dream, that's my goal, career-wise. But when it comes to what God has in store for me, I feel that He has this plan for me to be a leader in some capacity in the church. Back in July, I was involved in my second Chrysalis flight, and Chrysalis, for those of you who don't know, is kind of a weekend retreat for high school-aged kids, and it really brings you closer with God. And with this being my second one, I was a youth table leader, helping guide discussions and help the other kids that were going through it for the first time and leading them. And honestly, I fell in love with that. I've always felt myself to be a bit of a natural leader. I like to get up in front of people and lead the conversation and guide where things are going and help people get through that. And when I was there, I was giving a talk that was very similar to this, and it scared me. I didn't think I was ready for it. I didn't think I was prepared. I didn't think I could do it. But I got out of my comfort zone, and I really pushed myself, and I did it. And that's something that I found this summer that I really love, that I love leading people, and it really fulfills me spiritually. And that's something I encourage all of you to do, is to find something like that that does fulfill you, something you can use to help others learn and grow. And I'm also one of the leaders here in our youth group. I have all of these middle schoolers and younger kids looking up to me all the time. Whether I like it or not, I have the responsibility to lead and show them how to act and learn as young Christians. I'm not going to lie, I ran away from that at first. It was very tough for me to accept. I denied it. I chose to ignore it. But as I learned and I grew, and my youth pastor Courtney told me all the time, I ran with it. I embraced it. And now I've taken that and I lead to the best of my ability as much as I can, because as we have seen in the story of Jonah and his run-in with aquatic wildlife, you can't really run away from what God has planned for you. So that's something I encourage all of you to do, is go out and find something you're not really comfortable doing, something that really pushes your boundaries, because more often than not, as in my case, you're going to find something that you really love, that really fulfills you and can help you to carry out God's glory in the best way possible. Thank you guys very much. I'm Wes Eckert. Have a great week. But